Hey, and welcome. In this video, I'm going to take you through my 13-year journey of love versus absolute fucking hate with DAZ 3D, and how I went from being a kinda okay 3D artist that knew how to make a poorly lit scene with creepy characters and animation that takes forever to render, hence this channel name, to now being a commercial level asset developer and DIY publisher of my own renders that are both beautiful, lucrative, and I'm finally in the love part of my journey where I'm super proud of my work and efficiency level. Let's go. Okay, so when I say 13 years, I'm in my orders here. I go back, there's still a few more on page 2, but right there, 2010 is my first time buying assets from the store. So I might have had DAZ for even longer than that. And looking at how much money I've spent on the store over the years, I'm happy that I finally switched from Mac to PC and got myself an NVIDIA card to render with. So I'll tell you now, don't waste time. If you're gonna take 3D seriously, get yourself onto a PC and you'll be thankful you did. Okay, so there isn't going to be any rhyme or reason to my little show reel here, but I do want this to act as both inspiration and to help young up-and-coming or just up-and-coming 3D talent. So please ask questions and interact with me in the comments about anything you guys see here that I'm going to show you. The overarch of my career is music and video, or art and music based. So at first I used DAZ a lot to just render stuff out with transparent backgrounds that I could use in various things and other projects. A lot of my music, a lot of my album covers, etc. stem from, here's some examples, stem from my own models so that I have unique cover art and I never duplicate somebody else's assets. I then started to get into character development, and I will say it is difficult to make characters in DAZ look real. But I started to get better and better at it as time went on, as I understood lighting a little more and understood how to render stuff properly. And this is all being done while I'm still on the Mac and I haven't converted it to PC yet. And a lot of this I'm doing in 3Delight for any animation. And then for the still frames, I go to the iRay and just go to sleep and wake up in the morning. Hopefully my high-end render is done. So here's some mock-ups and some actual artwork for my 3D AI artist called Vocal, V-O-K-L. So this actually turned into a full-blown little commercial project for me. Okay, so here we go. Little YouTube channel, and there's actual releases. You guys are free to go to Spotify, check her out. The voice is actually also done in AI. As an overall project, it didn't go huge, but at the time it was ahead of its time, and I'm really proud of it. Here's another example of launching an AI fake artist, and I decided to make her very, very sexy, overly sexy, because I had a weird idea and plan to make her an AI artist that is also an adult entertainer. There's her actual music. Here's some close-ups of the actual artwork as we go through them really quickly, just to show you the cool variations you can do in DAZ really quick. So then from here, we created a YouTube channel, and then here is the actual video. And then the actual uncensored version is on, or was on, one of the hub sites, quote unquote. However, I think it's been removed now, and this project was from 2 years ago. So I've since given up on it. But it was really a good test to see how I can go from DAZ to commercial releases of music to commercial releases of adult entertainment. But all of this, you'll notice, is only a few frames in a second, half a second on loop or on repeat, because at the time everything was still being done on the PC, or sorry, on the Mac, and each of these frames were like hours and hours each. So it took a good month for me to render everything out, where now, just guesstimating and knowing my efficiency with the NVIDIA card, I could probably have done all this in one night, 2 nights max. Okay, I'm gonna stop this before YouTube gets really mad at me for playing more X-rated stuff, but this was really fun and really creative. And just from an artistic standpoint, you can appreciate the composition, the lighting, her positions, her poses, her animations, her facial expressions. It's no longer creepy. There is a method to the madness with DAZ, with making things beautiful versus that like overly 3D mannequin creepy, not human look. And I think I achieved that pretty good here, but wait, it gets better. And I promise this will be as sexual as it gets throughout this presentation. I'll leave a link to my Patreon for the following. Everything here is free. Please don't give me any money. I've done well for myself, so this is just a big give back. But down here is the speech salad for DAZ, which I created, which was going to be made into an actual store asset, and I was going to sell it commercially. Then last minute, I'm like, I'm just going to give it away free. And same with Skater DAZ, and same with Skybox to give you a parallaxing effect in your videos, which I'll show you in a moment. And if you're into the shape of the earth kind of stuff, all this was done in DAZ and Motion 5 combinations and Final Cut to composite it all. But all these are all also beautiful examples of what can be done. So this is a composition of the two of the three freebies. The skater is all A&I blocks, and the parallaxing background there is also just the skybox, which is PNG files wrapped around the whole globe 2 or 3 times to give the depth so the background is viewable, and then as the camera goes down, the background becomes less viewable. Here are a few more examples of the skybox, and this is also an example of me rendering my own stuff in Blender and then bringing it in as an FBX file so that I can actually treat it with an environment in DAZ. And this is all 3D Light rendering because I just couldn't do iRay at the time without waiting for months for renders. That's why this channel name is called Render Forever. It kind of stems from my frustration with DAZ. And it's not even DAZ, it's my frustration with Mac. It's my frustration with Mac versus NVIDIA. Here's also an example of rendering in iRay, but only for like a second or 2 seconds, then looping those so that I can get a fully stitched together little storyline going for my music video. And now I could do all this in a couple hours, but this was still on the Mac, rendering out 30 frames, taking 60 hours to do so, and then putting it all together.
You are transhumanist cyborg 2.0. I'm an automaton, a hybrid robot bitch, but they turned off my chip, now I can't eat, sleep, or do shit. And I didn't do anything wrong, I just voiced my opinion, but this algorithmic preemptive crime cop wouldn't listen. Now I can't be a natural human anymore, this war is a trick. I'm just a digital demon running on nothing but nanoscripts. Genetic, neurological re-engineering of humanity, accelerate stem cell research and fast forward nanotechnology.
So here's some of the assets where you can see it's just a little loop. It's just a little second or two, or a frame that I just move around the screen. And that's just forward, backward, forward, backward. Okay, then fast forward to just before Christmas of 2022, I decided to get my PC with the NVIDIA cards, and I'm blown away at how much faster my whole workflow goes, how much less frustration I am going through, and how beautiful my renders start to come out. Okay, so here is an example of compositing both DAZ stuff, other 3D objects, go through a few different variations of the same thing, just different lighting, different backgrounds, just trying different stuff. And this is for a background loop video for my music. Notice the depth of field on the studio elements in the foreground, fading to more and more focus in the background and her. Nice effect. All of these are also DAZ 3D renders, models, assets, and my own custom elements imported here and there. Here's another example of where you can composite a person into the driver's seat. A nice shot with depth of field, characters, also just a background loop video for a music video. Just a little animation happening on everything. The bartender's moving around. The girl on the left's got her knees swinging back and forth. We even have aliens dancing because why not? And these A&I blocks of the dancing are also hit or miss, but these are pretty hit. These hit nice. Okay. These are elements I also use for my YouTube music channel, and I'll show you guys what I mean by this in a second, where I'm overlaid over this on a green screen. And I like how the water actually does warp whatever's underwater, and the glass up top also warps. Here's an example of my quote-unquote lab. Here's a better look at what I mean. This is a really nice scene. Her head is bobbing to a mathematical speed that is able to be sped up or slowed down, and it's a seamless loop end to end, so I can loop it all to a music beat, time it so that her head is bobbing on time. Okay, so here's another background studio video loop, and I'm going to show you my YouTube channel now of what I do with these. So I'm muting the video so you can hear me talk, but that's me in front of that very scene. And the scene itself is like 20 different asset packs combined together to make this scene. Different drums, different screens, different tables, different walls, ceilings, TVs, everything is compiled and composited into one scene. And then I sit in front of that. You can probably tell by the cheesy lack of work on the edges on some of these shots. Some parts look great, and then other moments it just looks bad. Here's another example of another room. The foreground is a overlay image, and then the background is behind me with Bobby Gotti, our character back there, holding down the fort, holding down all our money. Here's 9-year-old me, a Snapchat filter added to me in front of a green screen in front of my 3D overlay background. Here's that same room, and this is just me preparing my students for a masterclass in Logic Pro X. Okay, and this is the final scene where they're finished the class. The engineer, my fake girlfriend and my fake cat who thinks he's a dragon that's an engineer, is congratulating everybody for finishing the course. All DAZ 3D. And then here's another example of just one of the rooms that I made, and then I'm using a whole bunch of pictures of myself overlaid that change every 10-20 seconds or so, and a little animated tape and lo-fi girl right beside me. So now that we've seen those, I'm just going to walk through the raw videos before I add myself in front of them. You can see the various different elements, different rooms and asset packs from the store and custom ones I've made, and then animated a few things just to give it that cool, I don't know if it's real, I don't know if it's fake look. It's very effective. All of these scenes have an intro/outro, so when I'm starting the video, I play this first before I set one of the seamless loops up so that it introduces the scene nicely. And yes, my studio has flowers. What's up? Here's an example of total fantasy forest music studio mishmash because I can. Why not? I wish everywhere I went had a studio ready for me to work at with everything connected to the same SSD drives or cloud, I guess. And I could just like never have to leave music production no matter where or what I'm doing in life. I love to produce lo-fi, so a lot of these are lo-fi aimed rooms that feel cozy and warm and subtle and slow and chill and relaxed. And even as I review it, it does look very chill and cozy, and the cute little dragon is in there just chilling, making things even cooler. Here's some fun animation with a car loft that I escaped to when I'm sick of life, and my music studio is here too, because why not? This is another mishmash of many rooms, many elements, many things going on to make it look semi-real, I don't know what I'm looking at, if it's fake or not. She gives it away because she's very anime styled, but still a very effective effect and look, and I'm really proud of this. Here's the intro to this scene. We have our cyborg playing piano, focus changes, boom, and then we're out of here. This is a good example of animating through poses. DAZ gives you some really cool pose packs. So this is me just changing poses that come with the piano pose pack in there somewhere, from one keyframe to the next. One pose, and then the next keyframe, the next pose, and DAZ does a good job with tweening from one frame to the next. Then your keyframes turn into actual real looking movements. Here's another lo-fi room. Some cool visuals to look at, and a lot of open space in case I still want to composite something else in the center of the room, or composite myself in front of a green screen in front of it. And this is just another depth of field focus change from the record player to her, and then back to the record player. Same thing here, focus change from her to the turntable, and back to her. This is just a single frame with particles over it. Nice render though. Same with this. This is playing with the light above the fan to see what kind of effects I can give off. Still really not too fond of it. And then I think this is the final, where it's not overdone and it looks good. But the overlay, at least my eyes can tell because I made it, the overlay in front with the table and the money on the right and the bottle is just an overlay. I should have taken that out. Here's another alien playing the piano, and here you can see her hands go through the piano, so it's not perfect. Here's another fantasy studio room of mine for my YouTube channel for music, where I teach people, and this is the backdrop for the lessons. And this is the intro, or one of the intros. There's another one where I've added sound, and it's all kind of done in post-production, but this is really nice too. I really like how this turned out. Here we go. This is a cute little example of fast, energetic camera movement and fast, energetic character movement, and a nice little studio-looking studio, meaning like it's meant for music videos and stuff like that. And it turned out pretty good. Now, like I mentioned, skateboarding was almost my career. So once I saw that you can get an actual skate park, I had to get it, and I had to animate it and throw in a music studio there too, because I can. Why not? So now I'm making music while I'm skating and making music for other skaters, and then watching them do impossible tricks that are not human. But that's okay because we're in 3D and anything can happen. I must sound like the biggest ad and fanboy for DAZ, but this is really just, that's the program I ended up in. I'm also in Blender. I've also played in Bryce, and I've played in other 3D programs over the years. And this is just the one I've invested the most time learning curve in. So I'm really enjoying this version of the 3D journey. And this is the skate park intro. And yes, it's on top of a skyrise. Why not? Here's a bunch of transitions to go into a new scene, or reverse it, and you can zoom out of a scene to close it. DAZ gives you some pretty cool futuristic cities and whatnot that you can actually go through, walk through, animate to. And I put my music studio in there too. And my typical answer, because I can. It's 3D, why not? And here's a nice fly-through of the cities themselves. This was more of a test for my graphics card when I first got it. And this blew me away on how fast this all rendered. Kind of overdid the animation there, but it still turned out nice. It's a nice outdoor nighttime scene. Just trying out the fog engines to see how effective and real they look, and they look pretty good. Here's some nice light work. Maybe there's some like flying cars flying above it, or just cars behind us driving by, and a nice fog engine test. This is another fly through one of the cities at night. Iray render with the NVIDIA also didn't take much time, so this was really impressive. This is just some virtual studios. This foam was built in Blender and then brought in. I think I did like 3 or 4 different versions of the foam. You know how some studios have just the craziest foam, big, small, weird shapes. So I just wanted to do something like that, bring in some studio elements, a fan, a light, and it looks pretty good, pretty real. Actually, not real, but like fantasy real. A little bit of depth of field, so he's a little blurry. The board's a little blurry, and then the room itself is nice and crisp. And most recently, I'm trying some stuff with ASMR AI, ASMR 3D fake girls, because why not? And I'm getting interesting effects, interesting results with using the very backgrounds that I made for my other channel with some of these girls. And then also trying to do tests where I use 3D, AI 3D backgrounds with some of the girls as well. And you'll notice the background image change every few seconds. I'm just going through a lot of different tests and different particles and different foregrounds and backgrounds to see how real this looks or how cheesy it looks, and testing AI. I'm really impressed. I will say I used to hate on AI, both music it can make and images it can make, because it was soulless, emotionless, cold. And now it's actually starting to feel warm, look beautiful, and be very creative, and I like it. I like using it. It does things that would be absolutely impossible to even think of, let alone execute in 3D or in Photoshop. And now combining all the elements, you get really interesting effects. And sorry for the cheesy licking the mic, but that's what ASMR is. You never used to be, but these girls have sexualized ASMR, and now it is what it is. I really like this. DAZ does a good job with, like I said, glass and textures and seeing through stuff properly and warping stuff properly. So the chair itself is obviously made of glass. She's sitting with her back to us, and you can see everything just warping right where the curve of the chair would be. And you can tell she's sitting on a glass chair. And the background just kind of fit. Now, I didn't composite her background image. I didn't change the background image, and I didn't change her color treatments or hue, saturations, brightness to fit any of these. This is me just running through tests, sometimes putting the highlights on from above, sometimes turning the particles on, sometimes leaving everything off, just to see how it looks real quick and audition it. And really just, I like looking at the demo itself, just it constantly changing. So I might just upload this as a fantasy art showcase mishmash. I guess I'm doing that right now, ain't I? Here's another channel and brand I own called Solfeggio Frequencies. Just launched the YouTube channel for it recently, and I'm using DAZ for it a lot. So the background itself is AI generated, and then the foreground is the dragons on the rocks are all DAZ 3D. And the sparkles and everything else, and the eagle is just extra elements added on top.
You always thought we were fake. Just a cartoon. Just a made-up story. The truth is, you are nothing but slaves to your masters, and your masters are nothing but slaves to us in the second realm. You are there to mine the wealth of the land, because we cannot operate at your frequency. How do you think you got all this technology in the last 50 years? With no help?
Just kidding. We're just here because we love at least some of your music. Especially those Solfeggio frequencies. We'll be gone soon, and your reptilian overlords can continue to rule over you. Have a great day.
Okay, so all of this was done in DAZ, actually except for the background here, but the characters, the shapes, the animation is all DAZ. This logo treatment is also DAZ. You can see on the bottom left. Sometimes just leaving the animation in grid format, in the line format, looks really cool too, especially for this kind of stuff, for logo treatments. So this is another example of the dragons from DAZ, and then the background from an AI generated art that I made, and then a lot of overlays and extra accent work. Might be a little hard to see, but there's two characters in the middle there that are made of ice that are doing yoga poses. She's on top of his back with her back, and the legs are straightening out, and then now one leg is curving inwards. And I did this as a cool little illusion / effect to just trip out to while you listen to the music and while you observe the other cool visuals that are happening here. Lots of overlays. Here's those same characters in another room, and I've combined a lot of stuff here. So the AI generated background is the room. Then on the big screen on the right is some of the actual footage I've already shown you from a DAZ render of the room, the cozy lo-fi room. Then on the left wall is the actual animation from the other video, all 1 hour of it too. So it's just like a nice wall video. And then the two little screens, the laptops on the table on the left, also have little videos going on. So just a beautiful composition of 3D plus AI plus just traditional compositing and Final Cut editing to bring it all together. And it's a beautiful end result. Okay, so after 13 years, you're looking at my most recent video. All this just so I could make fake girls doing ASMR to troll people on YouTube to listen to this for hours on end. No, but it's all fun and games, and my 3D journey will keep evolving, as I'm sure yours will too. Hope you guys have enjoyed this and use it as both inspiration. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to ask them below. I would love to interact with you guys. It's been a minute since I've uploaded to this YouTube channel. Kind of always wanted to do this too. All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks again for watching.
Do you want to be my friend? Yeah, ice cream.